Hi, my name is Puja, and I have been a therapist for a little over 6 years now. And I work with two main forms of therapy. One is CBT therapy, and one is humanistic therapy. So, with humanistic therapy, I believe the client is always first. The client will always control the sessions. They're more than welcome to bring anything that they want to bring to therapy. There's no structure such as, oh, we have to keep talking about this topic because we talked about it last week. If you want to change the topics every week, that is completely fine. It is entirely up to you and whatever makes you feel comfortable. When it comes to CBT therapy, I use the CBT model, but I've created my own techniques. So, with these techniques, it's just everything I've seen and heard in the last few years. So, if you ever come and say, oh, look, I'm having a lot of trouble with sleep, overwhelming thoughts, constantly overthinking, I'll be like, that's no problem. I have this technique. I always have my techniques written up. I'll always send them to you if this is what you really want, and then we'll discuss it in our session. And then the following week in our session, I'll say, oh, so did you try it? How did you find it? Anything that we need to adjust or we need to change? All the techniques are completely mandatory. I will never force them on you. It's just entirely up to you what you feel comfortable with. If you are just a talker, you don't want techniques, that's totally fine. If you are a talker, but you also need a bit of techniques to help you, that's also okay. It's whatever makes the client feel comfortable. So I basically became a therapist because in my childhood, I went through a lot of emotional abuse from family members, and I had no help. Just talking about your feelings just wasn't allowed in my family. And it wasn't allowed pretty much in society where I basically lived. And I realized growing up, I can't, let anybody go through what I went through. And as a child, according to my parents, I was very good at giving advice. And they called me like an old soul. So I knew when I was like 14, 15, like I wanted to be a therapist. It's always been my dream. It is my passion to absolutely help people. And, I always tell everybody, especially my clients, our past is awful. You know, it shapes us, it makes us, go through a lot of trauma, everything. But don't let your past determine your future. You are the CEO of your life. You can change it. You can make it absolutely amazing. Yes, it's completely hard. I fully agree. It's not easy to change yourself. It's not easy to heal from trauma. But 100% put in the effort and your mindset will completely change and your life will be so much better. So, with therapy, seeing that in my clients, it's an absolutely amazing feeling. And with a lot of time myself, I was able to also heal from my own abuse. I would say the type of therapist I am is integrative. I combine a lot of theories and I will always go by the client's needs. If they want a more direct approach, totally fine. They want a more casual, laid back approach, that's also okay. They want theories to help them make sense of whatever they're going through or whatever's going on in their head. That's also okay. I would definitely say, the type of therapist I am is I always want the clients to feel comfortable. Therapy is scary as it is. The last thing you want is a therapist coming in and just being like, oh, it has to be my way and all this here stuff. And that's just not how I work. You know, I believe any client that comes to therapy is just ultimately incredibly brave, incredibly strong, because it's not an easy approach. The last thing I ever want to do is make a client feel uncomfortable. So being comfortable is the absolute core. After a client is comfortable, I like to just work on a little bit more of the harder things. Client can gain from sessions with myself is, I would definitely say, a lot of strength and overcoming a lot of the really hard topics. I will never force any client to talk about anything they're not ready for. But once a client, feels comfortable, feels that click, with myself, 100% will work on the hard things. Trauma, abuse, whatever's going on for that client's head. and they'll always get techniques if they need it. They'll always hear different types of theories just to make sense of, what's going on, and then eventually having peace with it. I don't believe constantly keeping trauma attached to you is good in any shape or form for your mental health. At some point, you want to feel like I've healed and I've recovered. And once a client gains all that, they will feel so much lighter.